Bitcoin. Um, first public company to be focused on proof of stake blockchains and staking. We actually paid a dividend in Bitcoin, which was pretty cool. It's kind of a, I look at that more as, financial engineering on the corporate side. And that's essentially what I've been doing for the last 8 years, running BTCS as a NASDAQ listed company. Focused right now on proof of stake blockchains and providing the infrastructure that support those blockchains. So that's kind of the quick and dirty on my background.
Great. So what should they know? What's going on out there? I mean, how do you see things from your level?
Well, look, I think the market's changing, right? And this is probably new for everyone if you haven't been through it. I mean, I lived through the internet bubble bursting in early 2000. I was at an boutique investment bank in 2008 when the financial crisis hit. So having lived through some relatively large cycles, understanding how things are different in a cycle, I think is really important. We're whether it's if it's going to be officially called a recession or not, I'd say we're basically there. And if you're interested in blockchain and cryptocurrencies, that market has taken a huge hit. I mean, if you look at, I look at our portfolio, look at my personal portfolio, it's down, anywhere from 50 to 80%, depending on which cryptos you hold. And, who knows how long that'll last, whether it's, a quick cycle in crypto of a couple months, or it could be anywhere from 1 to 2 years, because this is, the first time it's really coincided, crypto winners coincided with a, broader market pullback, right? So looking at that and decisions you make as you look to move forward, I think is really important, and putting things into context, right? Like, a year ago, everybody and their brother was hiring, it was easy to get jobs. I know we were, as a company, when we would look to hire, it was really hard to get people, right? The kind of employee or, potential employee had really all the leverage in the situation. And I think things have really kind of flipped, right? Probably the other way. In an ideal world, things are very balanced. If you look at what's going on today, I'm sure everyone reads, the media, Coinbase has let go, 1,000 people, 20% of their workforce, and many other companies are scaling back. So I think what you should be, at least what I would be focused on now is, finding, not necessarily finding a job, but finding the right job, right? The job that's going to make you happy, that you're going to be passionate about, and it's going to be rewarding in terms of building a career, right? And that's a lot harder to do in a down market, right? So you thinking about how to be a little bit more, nimble, as well as, making sure you look at multiple options, right? Whereas in the past, a bunch of big companies may have come and recruited at Lehigh and just, picked up a lot of people. I don't know if that's still going on, if that's slowed down. I know in 2008 that just stopped, right? Like financial institutions did not recruit anymore. Everything was just on hold. They didn't even come to campuses. I don't know how bad things are today, but generally speaking, I would say, figure out what you want to do that's going to make you happy, and then find a company where you think you could do that and target that aggressively, right? In meeting candidates, I'm always impressed when someone's done their homework and can show me, day one that they would add value to the company if we add them, versus, the process kind of going the other way, right? Whereas, we're looking to kind of figure out how they're gonna, add value, and they're not really telling us, right? And what I mean by that is, if you really want to work for a company, right, you either like the product or service they're making, or you like the size of the team, or whatever the case may be, that makes that the ideal, organization for you. And it may be harder, a larger organization, right? If it's like, hey, I want to go work for Deloitte, or I want to work for Goldman, then you're really looking at like, okay, what is the group I'd be joining? But when you figure that out, kind of going after it, right? Like figure out who the decision maker is, or the hiring person at that company, figure out how you can network or connect with that person, whether that's via, LinkedIn, someone else may be connected with them, and then, get in touch outside of the ordinary channels, right? Like we literally just hired a recent college graduate, and he actually mailed us a letter, right? He could have done a better job writing the letter, but he actually wrote a paper letter and mailed it to us. And it's like, okay, that's interesting. We looked at it and we kind of, passed, but then he didn't stop. He sent a very nice note to management via LinkedIn and continued to follow up. And in the end, we ended up hiring that candidate over others. So it's just something to think about of like, as you go through this networking process, if that's the job you want, do whatever you need to do to get it, right? I think of it as almost like a competition, right? If you're playing a game and you want to win, like how do you win that game, right? And there are no necessarily set of rules, right? You can use LinkedIn. There's all these tools that if you start thinking outside the box, can help you get that position, right? So that's just kind of some advice on what to look for coming out. If you don't know like what you exactly want to do, that's a much harder question to answer, right? Of like then if you're like, I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I want to be in like this general space, then maybe a larger company where you can kind of be exposed to more different angles is important. I think one of the key things though, and especially in this market, is like do your homework in terms of expectations, right? Like I know, and I'm not sure at the graduate level what salary expectations are, other packages look like, but make sure you've done your work there, right? To know what to ask for and take note of what's happening in the market, right? If you're asking for something that's 2 times what the going rate is, and you can just Google it and find that out, or you're asking, we had one person who were looking to ask for an employment contract, and it was like that's given to the CEO and like 2 people, right, at a company. That's usually for senior executives, right? It's not mid, junior, even like, for example, our company, our CFO doesn't have one, right? Like understanding that is goes back to my point of do your homework, right? It's something you can Google and find out, like, where do people get employment contracts? What should I ask for? What's market? And also, the value, if it's the right company, sometimes it's worth just getting your foot in the door, right? Because once you're in, you can prove yourself and grow from there. If it's a larger company and you're just looking for experience, it may not matter, but it's just something to keep in mind, especially in a down market. Hopefully that's kind of some good, pointers or tips on what to think about as you look to move out of school and back into the workforce.
Great. Any question for Charles? Wasti, go ahead. Wasti again he just joined us from this is our first semester. He's currently working on a couple of interesting projects. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. I wanted to ask, you can hear me, right?
Yeah,
I can hear you
this time. That's
Okay,
great.
yeah, I got a
Like
mic.
the microphone.
Yeah, I got a mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was before the meeting, Professor Zoro had sent us, who would be presenting, and I looked up BTCS, and it says that you guys are a pure play company. What does that exactly mean?